Hello, friends. You are watching a brand new episode of the Green New Perspective podcast, your go to place when you want to learn about innovations in tech and if you want to discover marketing strategies that are fueling growth in this space. In today's episode, we are talking about the challenges related to the extraction of lithium, nickel, and cobalt, critical minerals when we're talking about making of batteries for EVs, but that are also related to a number of problems like high costs, environmental issues, and geopolitical tensions. My guest today is Mahesh Konduru. He's the CEO of Dallas-based company Momentum Technologies, and their tech is recovering critical minerals from waste, offering a sustainable alternative to mining. So we're going to talk about how they went from a small lab to a world-class demonstration plant. We're going to explore the balance between innovation and sustainability, and we're going to see how today's waste can power the future. Enjoy! Welcome to the Green New Perspective podcast.
Dunya, thank you so much for having me.
Can you introduce yourself, tell our audience a bit more about your background and how Momentum Technologies came to be?
Yeah, great. Well, my name is Mahesh Konduru. I am the CEO for Momentum Technologies. My background, I've been in the industry for about 24 years. I've broadly been around the material science, power, environmental science industry segment. In terms of education, I have a PhD in chemical engineering, got an MBA from MIT. I have had, I think, about the last 40 years of my life, I've spent some of that as an investor, the rest as an operator, in the sense that I've been helping companies take technologies from concept to commercialization. In some cases, taking companies from a distressed state to profitability as well. And all of this has been around a broader material science, decarbonization, clean tech agendas, as you might say, people may call it these days. That's a little bit of my background. In terms of Momentum and how it came about, so Momentum was founded by a couple of visionary founders, Preston Bryant and Rob Miles. Preston was looking to have an impact on the critical mineral space, and he ended up partnering with a principal investigator at one of America's premier research laboratories called Oak Ridge National Lab. So he partnered with that principal investigator there called Dr. Ramesh Bave, and they ended up getting into an exclusive licensing agreement for a key technology that Dr. Bave and his team had initiated at Oak Ridge. And so Preston took that and started using that for rare earth magnet recycling. And the beauty of that was the technology could be also used for lithium-ion battery recycling. And that's how Momentum came about, and it was formed about 7 years ago, I believe, and raised some institutional capital in December 2021. It's headquartered in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We've just finished commissioning a world-class laboratory and a demonstration plant unit there that the team is very proud of. So we're excited to be in the space. We believe the whole supply chain for critical minerals recovery is of utmost importance for global mobility, global use of handheld devices, storage, and power. And everybody from our team is very excited to be part of that value.
So the lithium battery industry, as we know, is pivotal for EV adoption. So how do you see it evolving, and what's the company's role, Momentum's role in shaping its future?
Yeah, again, great question. So as you know, the whole trend towards electric vehicle adoption has been at the forefront of the news, at least in the last 5 years. There was a huge increase in excitement around the COVID time. And then you're seeing a little bit more tempered sentiment these days. We're in 2024, at the end of 2024. I think at the base of this starting foundation for EV adoption, or at least the inventory of vehicles in the world, is still quite small. Any growth in that is going to be great growth, right? So while the expected growth projected or forecasted 5 years ago was significantly higher, I think even if you get to half of that in the next 10 years, it's still going to be significant for everybody. So from a long-term perspective, myself and Momentum, we are quite bullish on this segment, and we contribute we believe, a very valuable part in that supply/value chain, whereas you need these critical minerals, lithium, cobalt, nickel, obviously three of the more commonly mentioned ones. There's other in there, graphite, copper, several others. We believe that the supply for those minerals and metals is either captive to certain jurisdictions that are not friendly to the rest of the world, number one. Number two, maybe using unethical practices. The third is probably are burdened by really cumbersome regulations that take a long time. I'm talking about mining, to go from the commercialization to go from permit seeking to production is a very long cycle. So in that realm, what Momentum does is, we help recover critical minerals from a lot of waste. So we believe we contribute a significant portion to the supply of these materials. And we hope, while we're seeing that there is going to be projected growth in that. So we're quite excited to be, a part of that very critical value chain, like pun intended.
Yeah, well, you mentioned this closed loop contribution to environmental sustainability, but what are the long-term sustainability goals for Momentum? How do you plan to achieve them?
Yeah. Again, look, sustainability is a interesting word. It can be used in many ways. Right? For us, like you said, one way to look at sustainability is to use as little as possible of resources that are hard to find or hard to replace. And number two is not to harm the environment, right, which is important. Number three is just long-term viability of a business. So that's how I look at it from three different buckets. And in all those categories, we're very proud that Momentum is taking meaningful strides in making a strong impact. I think from the first perspective of being very careful in what we use. For example, on core technology, eliminates the use of kerosene, which is not good in terms of what contaminants it produces as a byproduct. So we have a completely closed system that eliminates harmful use of harmful reagents. Number two, again, our permitting is very, very simple. We don't produce what people call, you need to get an air source permit, and we don't need a major air source permit because it's a closed loop system. It's completely enclosed. We reuse everything that is produced. So we're proud of that. We use less water, less power, less reagents. And from a long-term sustainability perspective for us, are in the space where we offer flexibility on raw materials because the battery chemistries keep changing. And so we believe we are gearing ourselves to capture any of these changes on the raw material side of the product side. And we're also offering flexible business models that will give you a great opportunity to have a sustainable business in the sense that we can have a long-term and a durable business.
And one of your recent milestones is the second pilot plant, which is quite significant. So what does that mean for your company's growth? We are in this segment of growth questions. So I really,
yeah. Look, and I think, for those in the audience who understand how technology adoption works and how technology growth works, it's a very rigorous, disciplined journey that is needed to get to commercialization. And we are very proud that we are well into that journey and getting close to commercialization. We started off in a lab in the garage of one of the co-founders, a classic American entrepreneur story. We then built a small pilot in the garage, and then we moved to a larger facility to have a demo plant, which is what you're referring to. And the scale from the lab to that demo plant that we just commissioned is almost 2,000 times. And in between, we obviously went, another 10 a multiple of 10 lower in scale to achieve what we call a very rigorous de-risking of our technology. So for us, it's a great milestone to demonstrate that this technology can scale. We've understood the risks. It still delivers strong unit economics, and then that's what matters. And as a team, we really understood and solved a lot of challenges on the way, which give us proprietary knowledge on how to tackle this industry in the particular segment that we're tackling. On top of that, we are working on having a commercial plant in Ohio, which is about 10 times the plant we just commissioned Dallas area. So that Dallas plant is very helpful to learn a lot as we work on a detailed engineering construction of that plant in Ohio. So all of these have very nicely contributed to us in getting to this scale. And then we're excited to grow beyond that, where we're talking to multiple clients about multiple plants of that scale globally. So I think it's quite an exciting phase for the company.
You mentioned challenges, so can you tell us more, like what challenges did you encounter while building this plant, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, great question. So something we talk about as a team is that when you're trying to get into a completely new industry, it's very easy to stumble into problems that nobody ever has faced because you're trying to do something completely new. So it's very important that the team is resilient, resourceful, and can persevere through these challenges because you're first of a kind in solving something like this. So for us, the team has been very resourceful in uh, when they find problems, they together as a team have gotten together and used the right brainstorming mechanisms to really find a resourceful solution themselves when they can. And if not shy to approach experts in the market, maybe in adjacent markets that have a similar problem to solve that, right? So that's the way typically you solve science and engineering problems. So, for us, there have been several in this space, which it's generally, some of this is chemistry driven, some of this is mechanical engineering driven, some of this is chemical engineering driven. And I can tell you that our team has faced challenges in each of those functions that I mentioned, and we have successfully solved them. And it has required multifunctional expertise from different team members to solve that, and which has been very great to see. In fact, this week our team is facing a new issue, which is, for example, we get raw material from one of the big players in the space, and we found that the raw material comes in what people call super sacks, and we found that not every super sack has the same quality of material. So the challenge then is we've designed an intake equipment for handling raw material in a particular shape, and then the client was supposed to send that in a certain quality, but it didn't meet that quality requirement. So instead of our team complaining to the client saying, hey, you didn't send the right one, we found a resourceful way to take that and kind of change the process a little bit to actually get the first couple of campaigns done by, kind of going away from a traditional use of what the equipment was designed for and finding their own way to kind of take this material, get it into a form that you can actually transport it into the vessel and then do the rest of the process. So it's been great to see the team execute on that.
And you mentioned that technology is new. So how have you approached educating the market about your uniqueness, and how is your technology basically better, or maybe not better, but different, and how it can benefit your potential clients and partners?
Yeah, great question. There's a multi-pronged way to answer that. Let me start maybe at a very high level. Typically, in this industry, which is adjacent to the mining industry, especially you're recovering critical minerals that most of the time used to come from under the ground, everybody points to low cost. We want a solution that's low cost. Technology is great, but what does it do for me in the end, right? So I think what's been beautiful about technology is that because of the elegance of it, where it combines 5 steps into one step, 5 conventional steps into one new step, it automatically gives you low cost. So for us, when you tell clients, you lead by saying it's a low cost, elegant, new technology solution, it falls in the right ears. So not all the time people want to say it's a new technology, then they're like, oh, does it mean it's going to cost you? But in this case, the elegance of the technology lets us offer a solution that's very low cost. So we solved that problem, number one. Number two, there is something in the industry about chemistry flexibility of batteries. Battery chemistries keep improving, which also drives the cost down and also increases the life cycle of a battery. Our technology can tackle any of these chemistries, which is fantastic. So we're solving that problem for people. On the other side, products, because people use a certain purity, a certain state of a chemical to make batteries. And there's different, people call OEMs, original equipment manufacturers, that have different specifications or specs, as they say it. Instead of reinventing the wheel, telling them this is what we make, we ask them what you need. And we can make that because our process offers the flexibility of a product. So that's the third problem we solve. Another problem we solve is a lot of these collectors of this used material, whether it's from batteries that are producing these materials or end-of-life batteries, captive material there, and for them to get it to a client to buy it, they have to transport it across borders, and that material is hazardous. So you sometimes need to get permits that are not easy to get. It costs you a lot of money. So we offer a solution where we come to you, we put a plant right next to you, so you can eliminate the logistics complexity. So when you go to clients and tell them, where you ask them what the headaches are and solve them, And that's an easy audience in terms of receiving new technology in a manner that helps you adopt it faster.
As a CEO with an engineering background, how involved are you in marketing and, let's say, storytelling of your company's mission and technology?
Yeah, again, great question. I think, look, from a storytelling perspective, it's a great story that our founders have, right? I mean, Preston started very young in his career. It's a great American entrepreneurial story, and he's a great storyteller. His personal story is a good one. And our other co-founder, Rob, as a CTO, has had 7 startups before, is successful. So that brings a certain level of legitimacy to it. And when I come in, obviously having a advanced degree in engineering helps. I've also been a CEO before. I was an investor before. I've did product development before. So, I mean, all of that, I've been fortunate to, pull that into a good story on at least putting investors and client at ease to let them know that myself and the team together are good stewards of capital, good stewards of your product and raw material. And we know what we're doing, right? Because of the vast breadth of experience that we have. So, I mean, that kind of markets itself in a way, for a better word.
And you mentioned you started as a pilot project. So as you transition from pilot project to full-scale commercialization, how does your marketing strategy evolve?
Yeah, good marketing questions. The way I look at it is the marketing strategy is different for different products you offer. I mean, it goes without saying. Right? In my previous CEO role, we were selling what people call widgets and systems. So there's a marketing philosophy and game plan for selling widgets and systems, right? Because the check sizes are different, the clients are different, the value propositions they're looking for are different. So you've got to adapt to that. In this case, we are selling a technology platform. We're essentially selling a plant and engineering design to clients, right? So I think we are getting a little bit early in our marketing maturity, but I think the 4 pillars that I mentioned to you is we ask clients what problems they face, and one by one, we list how we're solving them. That's a very easy way to get people to understand what we are and how we solve their problems. So in a way, it markets itself to do that. And again, to be honest, I found this to be a little bit different than before in how to get, better brand recognition, better adoption, right? So I think in an industry where you're marketing technology, it's first thing I've always found is highlighting the technical depth of your team is very important, all the way from the leader of the technical team to the breadth function of your team and what we've achieved, how the technical knowledge that we have taken, not only put up the system, but put out publications, intellectual property, all of that brings credibility in an industry where people are looking for technology innovation to drive adoption. Right? So I found a key marketing aspect that you need to have in technology companies is highlighting the technical capabilities of your team, not only internally, but how third parties have already validated that. Right? So that's where we do that. And I think, look, we've got a very good PR marketing lead, Amanda Gilbert, in our team, and she's done a fantastic job in really multi-pathing, talking to multiple stakeholders. In this segment that we're in, which is a nascent industry, there's a lot of stakeholders. There's regulators, there's government officials, there's industry partners, there's investors, and there's different global players that have a stake in all of this. So we really have been methodical in having outreach and maintaining communication with all these stakeholders and highlighting to them how we are addressing these issues that are important to their own constituents where they are, and then solving their problems. So it's been, I could tell you, we've tried SEO websites, obviously this podcast is a good marketing tool. And I think Amanda's done a fantastic job on a multi-channeling marketing approach.
You mentioned regulations a bit.
Yeah.
So how do you feel that recent global policy shifts impacted the growth in the lithium battery or recycling industry?
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure you're referring to the recent election in America or globally how things are going. But I think broadly speaking, what I would say is this is a nascent industry that's very important to a lot of what human beings do around the world. Right? Critical minerals go into everything you touch every day, whether it's your handheld phone, your laptop, and the vehicle that you take, whether it's your personal vehicle or a public vehicle. And all of these are going to get better, faster, which means the demand's going to go up, which means you need more of these critical minerals. So the way we talk about this, the way I personally talk about this is critical mineral security is a nonpartisan issue globally. right? So I think it's our job to educate people that come in to understand that. And, we do our best in doing that. And we've got good investors that do their part as well in educating people as needed. But again, to be honest, a lot of the policymakers around the world have really gotten to understand the importance of critical minerals. And we believe that's going to be positive going forward the next 4 years, 10 years, 20, 40 years.
And what's next for Momentum Technologies? You've mentioned plans. Is there anything else in the horizon?
Yeah, great. I mean, I think, look, as I mentioned to you, we have a platform technology which can go into multiple market segments, right? So for us, let me talk near term, midterm, and long term. In the near term, our heads are down trying to get the commercial plant in Ohio up and running, because that'll be profit generating. And the sooner you generate, and the sooner you show to the market that this actually makes money, the better for everybody. So we are head down. Most of our bandwidth is spent on that. Again, in the near term, we're talking to multiple people who want to build plants around the world. So, I mean, there's people in Europe, US, Korea, Australia, Asia that want to build these plants around the world. So for us, in the medium term, we want to, build, about 4 plants in the next 3 years. So we'll head down, focus on, talking to clients and working with them to see how we can bring that to their facilities. In the longer term, we want to tackle the rare earth magnet recycling, mining tailings, and hard metal waste market segments as well. So that's something that is on our plate as well. However, we need to augment our team appropriately to get there, and we have a plan to get there in the next few years.
You mentioned a couple of times here that you have worked with many companies in the past, and you know how difficult scaling can be. So what advice would you give to other climate tech entrepreneurs looking to scale their innovations in this competitive market?
Yeah, look, I mean, my personal experience has been across multiple market segments, multiple type of products. And again, I'll caveat what I say with this, that what works for the companies that I was at may not work for people in the audience. However, it's good to share your personal experience and say, hey, this is what worked for us. So I think in my previous CEO role, we took a material science product from a lab of a professor to a big client in the Middle East that took a pretty methodical journey. And as I mentioned earlier, you can plan as much as you want about methodical de-risking, right? So I think it's good to be disciplined about scaling and understanding risk at each scale. Don't skip those steps, right? I mean, if you can, don't skip those steps. Sometimes you're under pressure to skip those steps, but if you can afford not to skip it, don't skip them, because you learn a lot. Your team learns a lot. Market learns a lot. And so going from lab to a pilot to maybe a larger pilot to commercial, do your best to understand the risks there, have the right multifunctional team capability on your team. Make sure the team is humble to know that, hey, not one person can understand all the problems. It's good to hear ideas from people with different experiences. The third thing I would say is that move fast. Everybody says that. And I mean, something that I've learned, even this is my second CEO role, which is sometimes people who have experience at larger corporations, have a methodical way of doing things. I think you need to combine that with speed from an entrepreneurial spirit. It's a delicate balance. There's no one size fits all, but as a CEO, if you're the CEO listening, you got to understand what mindset is needed for what problem you're solving that week, that month, that year. You got to really keep your eyes open and really step back and say, hey, what kind of mindset do I need to solve this problem? And not one size fits all sometimes, right? So that's something that I've learned as well. And again, what I tell people beyond all the people and de-risking issues is the number one role of a CEO that was taught well to me in my MBA class was to make sure you have enough money to pay, right? So I think the CEO's job is to make sure you raise capital, is one of the most important jobs, and keep sure that you have enough to keep going. So I would say you keep your investors, keep your partners at the forefront all the time, because that's very helpful. I think probably the most important thing is getting client validation very early in the process is very important. I think so. For Momentum, we're fortunate to have credibility from a very big third party from a raw material side and a very big reputed third party for an offtake agreement side that immediately communicates to other clients that credible parties are taking a chance on you, which is very important. I think something that has been said in the tech industry sometimes applies to the material science industry as well, which is nothing like client validation. Don't sit in your garage lab, demo plant, for too long tinkering. Start something, show it to a client, and see what they want. Ask the client what their problem is, instead of you telling them, here's a solution, without understanding the problem, right? So that's another thing that needs to be at the top of the mind for everybody.
Thank you, Mahesh. This is an excellent answer. Hopefully our viewers, watchers, listeners are going to be inspired. And for people who want to find out more about Momentum, get in touch with you, to DM you, or just want to, know more about your industry, where can they do that?
Yeah, look, go to our website, momentum.technologies.com. I think my email is mahesh@momentum.technology. Feel free to reach out anytime. And, we're happy to work with you, whatever you're looking for. And I'm happy to share my experiences, and our team is there to help us lead as well.
Well, thank you once again for being our guest here on the Green New Perspective podcast. And I really wish you all the best with that plant opening, and keep doing the great work you do.
Thank you very much, Dunya. Have a great rest of your day. And I appreciate you being on there, and look forward to learning more about what you guys are doing.
Thank you for tuning in to Green New Perspective. This podcast is proudly sponsored by New Perspective. We are a Boston-based marketing agency working with Cleantech clients solely for over 20 years now. And if you want to check out how we help our Cleantech clients to grow, you can click on the link in the description of this episode. If you like what we do here with the podcast, giving some amazing people from all over the cleantech space a place where they can showcase their innovative tech aimed at combating climate change, you can support us in so many ways. You can leave reviews, comments, or consider subscribing to our channel on your favorite streaming platform. We've noticed that around 75% of you who are regularly watching our show are not subscribing. So just by hitting that subscribe button, you could help us to grow, to get even more people from the climate tech space, and create additional content. So please consider doing that. Thank you in advance. And of course, thank you for tuning in to this episode, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.